Welcome back to Phillips Hot Rod Garage. Alright guys, so I'm back for another week working on the 28 Model A Special Coupe. In the last video, I rebuilt these original trunk hinges because this new set of aftermarket hinges, I never could get them to fit the way I thought they should. So in this video, the challenge is to come up with a set of new hinge pins that will fit the original hinges and work as they should. So instead of buying a set, I think we'll just build some. Alright, so the only tools that I have to work with are this cheap drill press, a couple of Harbor Freight files, a file I bought at a swap meet, it's pretty sharp. I got a hacksaw, I got some sandpaper, and I got a couple of old bolts that I can sacrifice and cut down, and that's all I got. So let me show you the plan. So the bolts I got are 3/8, which fit perfectly in the hinge. So that threaded area, I got that covered. Now all I got to do is get the pin area the correct size. So I'm going to cut this off and I'm going to file that down so it's the right diameter to fit into the trunk. So when looking at this trunk, you can see that there's wear in this hole in the trunk where the pin goes. So that new pin wouldn't work anyway. There's a lot of wear in it. So I do have these new plates to replace these worn out ones, but I think it's to my advantage to leave the worn out ones on there, and I'll tell you why. The new pin is pretty small, and if I replace them, I'm gonna have to file my new pins down to that size. But if I leave the wear in there, I won't have as far to have to file this bolt down. I might even take a drill bit and run through each side to make them nice and round again so that I can file my pin down to fit an even larger size. It's gonna be easier on me to make the pins bigger than it is to have to make them smaller. So I'm going to use that wear to my advantage. All right, so what size does the pin need to be? Well, since the pin slides through the hinge like so, the pin can't be any larger than the hole in the hinge or it won't slide through. All right, so using this set of drill bits, I'm going to see what the maximum diameter of the pin can actually be. That's a 19/64 and it slides right in. Here's a 5/16, it slides right through the hole. And then if I go up to a, what is that, 21/64, it will not fit. It won't go through the hole in the hinge. So 21/64 is too big. The biggest drill bit that'll slide through the hinge is gonna be a 5/16. So now I need to take this 5/16 over to the trunk and see if it'll fit that worn out hole. All right, so it fits that side nice and snug. Fits that side pretty good. So I think 5/16 is gonna work out good for me. You know, that's pretty amazing that the largest size that'll fit through the hinge ends up being the perfect size for that worn out hole. That's pretty amazing. But hey, I'll take that. All right, so let's make it happen. Let's go ahead and cut these bolts off to the right length. All right, so I hate to have to do this, but I got to put the threads up into the drill chuck. So I'm not going to tighten it real tight, just enough to get the job done. I hate to have to do that, but with my limited tools that I have, that's the best option that I have. All right, so here's my mark. I got to raise my table up to that mark. I'm going to use this hacksaw to cut it. right there. All right, here we go. All right, so that ought to be enough. I'm gonna pull this one out, put the other one in there, put a mark on it. All right, there's one. One more. All right, that's the second one. All right, so what I'm gonna do is get it spinning and use this grinder, and with it spinning, I'm gonna grind on it and take off the bulk of the material that I need to take off with this grinder. When it gets down to where it'll just begin to start to fit into this 3/8 hole, I know at that point I'm getting pretty close. All right, that's getting pretty close, so I think now I'm gonna switch over to a file. All right, getting pretty close now. A little bit more. Okay, goes through there. Let's see how close it comes to fitting in that trunk. All right, it's getting pretty close. All right, so let's try it now, see how it fits. Oh yeah, it goes in there now. It's not too loose, it's just right. It doesn't have any play in it, but it's gonna be easy to install because it's not binding up. So we'll go ahead and polish this up now and call this one done. All right, so what I got here is a piece of 400 grit wet sand, wrapping it around a paint paddle. Got some WD-40 on it. I'm gonna use that to polish it up. Should make it look good. Getting close. A little bit more. All right, I'm gonna try it wrapped around a file. That might make it sand a little easier. The file's a little harder. I think that paint paddle may be a little too soft. Well, I think that's looking pretty good. All right, that's pretty good. All right, let's take it out and take a look at it. Oh yeah, now that's beautiful, guys. I'm gonna bring you in for a close-up. All right, so there's a comparison of the one I just made to the one right here that came in the kit. All right, so what I'm gonna do is put a nut on the end of it, and then I'm gonna weld the end of that up right there so that it turns it back into a bolt again. And then it'll have a very similar look to the one that was store-bought, just a little bit longer, a little bit larger diameter. All right, I want to check it in the trunk again to make sure I didn't take too much off when I polished it. And I don't think so. I think it's gonna be perfect. Just right, just the right amount of play to make it easy to put in and out, but not be too loose. All right, well there it is. It looks pretty good to me. It may be a little long, but I don't think it's gonna hurt anything. We'll see once we get the trunk on. All right, so now that I know what to do, I'm gonna go ahead and knock the second one out real quick and get the nuts welded on, then we can test fit the trunk. All right guys, there they are. They look real good. So now it's time to weld the nuts on, and then those will be done. All right, so I got the nuts welded on and I got the welds ground off, and you know, that's probably good enough, but just to take it one step further, I'm gonna go ahead and put it back in the drill press, tighten it up here, and I'm gonna use this file to try to flatten out the end, just give it kind of a little bit better look to it. Probably not necessary at all. I may need to clamp the file down. That might help a little. All right, the first one's done. It's got a nice machine look to it. So we'll knock out the second one and this project will be done. All right, there they are. I don't think you're gonna get much better than that with a cheap drill press and some hand tools. Looks pretty good to me. Now we just gotta see if we can get the trunk put on. All right, guys. So this is the original trunk off my car, and it's crusty. It is bad. The outside of it is warped pretty bad because the car was sitting in front of my shop that burned down, and the car was backed up against the building. So the heat warped it pretty bad because the fire department came along and sprayed this car down before they sprayed the building down to keep me from losing the car. And so the trunk was really hot when the water hit it, and they quenched it, and it went to moving pretty bad. It's got a lot of warpage in it, and it's already got a lot of rust in it. So I don't see any reason to try to use it on this car. I'm gonna try to save this one and maybe use it on a car that's not as nice as this. Maybe like a rat rod project or something. That one will be good for. So I picked this trunk up from Larry down at Boxcar's Garage, and it's in pretty good shape other than the bottom down here. It's got some rust down here, but I did show you in a previous video several months ago that I have another bottom section to go in this in another trunk that is otherwise in really bad condition. That's the bottom section of the other trunk that I have is about all that's left that's any good in it. So I'm going to take two and build one out of this one. I think I can make it be a pretty nice unit when it's done. But unfortunately, somebody has added these rumble hinges. This was not a rumble lid. This was originally a trunk lid, and they converted it to a rumble lid, and they added these hinges. And when they did not get their threaded inserts in there correctly. Something is not right about it, and the screws won't come out. So I can't drill them because they just spin. I can't get my hand up in there to get any tools on there. It's bent here, and I think maybe somebody had tried to bend this out so they could reach up in there. I think that's why that's bent. But unfortunately, you can't get in there. So the only thing I know to do is take my torch and just melt the head off of these bolts. I don't want to make a whole video out of doing that, so I'm just going to knock that out real quick. Once I get those off, I'm going to go ahead and stick this on with those new bolts or pivot pins we just made. See if I can get this thing on there and see how it's going to fit. All right, guys, the trunk's on. And the pins worked great. I'm going to bring you in and show you what they look like. All right, the driver's side looks good. And the passenger side looks just as good. They are a little bit long, but I didn't know what length they were supposed to be. My old ones were so worn out that I just decided to make them a little long, and I can come back and cut them off later if I ever decide to. I don't know. I may not. They really don't hurt anything like that. All right, there's not a lot of play in the hinges. Everything's pretty tight. Trunk fits level. Lines up pretty good. Everything except for down here. Now the passenger side looks fair. But the driver's side, we got a little bit of issue with it overlapping right here. And that's because the trunk's a little flat right here. It's got to have some more curve in it. It needs to be picked up some, about like right there. When I do that, that's going to leave the bottom sticking out. So that's got to be bent in some. And I think when I bend that in, it'll take care of this issue right here. I think it's more the trunk messed up than it is the body. All right, now that trunk's got to have a good bit of work. The hole down here has been filled in where the latch goes. You can kind of see the hole there. I think he just got Bondo in it actually. But when I get under here and start welding all this stuff up, I'll figure all that out. And of course they drilled a hole here to put the rumble latch in, and I got to fill that in. Strip all this old paint off. See how bad of a mess we got under there. But that's it. Pins worked out pretty good. Pretty good. Not bad at all. Well, there you go, guys. Custom hinge pins are working good. Moving up and down nice and free. I'm happy with that. So hope you guys enjoyed the video on the custom hinge pins. I really appreciate you guys watching. Thanks to all the new subscribers. And guys, share this video and like and subscribe if you haven't already. I just appreciate you guys watching. I hope you guys learned something from this. I certainly did. I had never used a drill press for a lathe before. I want to buy a lathe, but I just hadn't come across the right deal yet. I don't want to buy a new one, of course. Not for the home hot rod shop. I got to come across a good deal or I can't justify buying one. You guys probably know what I'm talking about. Everybody wants to go out and buy thousands of dollars worth of new tools, but unfortunately, we're not making money doing this. This is all just for fun. So I appreciate you guys hanging out. Appreciate you guys watching. Guys, I'll see you in the next one.